What is going on, guys? Today we are looking at Oxford's League player cards. So the very first one, obviously last year, if you were into foot at that point, we got Millet as our first one, and honestly one of the best League cams that we got for a long time. A very, very nice card, and the comparison between the first one last year and the first one this year is massive. I think for me, straight off the bat, he just doesn't look fantastic. Like, the stats will always kind of swaying on your opinion, and of course everybody's seeing 81 pace, 85 defended, 85 physical, but the one thing you've always got to remember with cards like this is we see it a hell of a lot of times. Sometimes they can surprise you, don't get me wrong, but he's come from a 70 silver common. I can just guarantee you the animations, and after looking at a few reviews that were already up, you can just see that he's really not going to be not even necessarily the most meta, but just the most kind of effective centre-back for what you've got to do. Obviously, in terms of price, yeah, you can't argue. He's free. You do an objective, you get him, you get an 84 for absolutely nothing. So I will never, ever complain about that. But in terms of this card, I'm very interested to see how his animations have been updated, if they have, because I don't think they update the animations based on the card going up. I feel like it is the same as what you'd get normally, but obviously increased stats. He has gone up a big rating, plus 14, you can't argue whatsoever. He's had a 14 increase on absolutely everything bar from physical, which has gone up by 13. So to be honest, I really can't argue with the upgrade of the card. That is absolutely sensational. I love when they bring these cards up, and sometimes you find hidden gems. This card doesn't look it. He's 6'3", 2-star, 3-star. We will cover all of the objectives, and if you are brand new to the channel, then make sure you hit that subscription button. And also, if you want to see a fast way to kind of get this complete, down below will be the description of how I've basically kind of broke each objective down. It's very simple. This is a simpler objective to be able to do, but it is a link in the description if you want to go and check that one out. Drop a like on there as well. But we are looking at him today. We've managed to get him done a little bit later than what I wanted. Normally with these objective cards, I will try to get them out almost the same day if it's possible. Obviously with the league player cards, they are a little bit more of a grind. They do take a couple of hours at the minimum, depending on how well you can actually play the game, and if you can get all specific parts done quickly. You do need to score the 30 goals as well, also 15 matches at a minimum with finesses. But we look at him in terms of traits. Unfortunately, they've not got any, and I'm still yet to think that they can actually even add or take away traits from players, because it just would be nice if they did upgrade, that maybe you got a cheeky trait, something like that. It would be nice to see that go forward. And in terms of stats then, let's have a look. So going from left to right, obviously pace wise it's not bad. We will be whacking a shadow on him, which will give you 91 pace and 93 defending. Shooting wise, we kind of okay with that. That is what it is. Short and long pass, good short pass on him, and long pass, it is what it is, 72. I don't really need him pinging balls left, right and centre. I just need him to go to the left back, maybe even the left mid if they've pushed back a little bit more. Agility's not bad. Balance, little bit on the lower side, but it's probably about average for a centre back. Great reactions on him. Composure, little bit shot, I will say that. Personally, 80 is kind of my base for okay cards. Like, if you've got everything else really, really nice and you've got 80 to 82 composure, I'm okay with it. 74 is a little bit on the lower side. And in terms of defending, obviously that will go up to 93, and just to kind of put that into perspective, you'll have 91 interceptions as well as defensive awareness, 86 head and accuracy, 99 stand, and 95 slide. You've got 79 jumping, which again is not great, to be honest. Stamina you can deal with, great strength, great aggression. He looks as a card decent. Like, to be honest, stats look decent. I'm interested. The main thing that you always want to look at when they've had such an upgrade, it's like when you see players that get a plus 10, a plus 9, a plus 14, is you kind of see where their base card's at. If he's a gold, maybe you've already played with him, you might know a little bit more about him. With silvers, it's very, very hard to say. We've seen from bronze to kind of gold cards go up, and we've seen many, many silver cards, mainly the future stars, to be honest, because you see that they just don't have either a specific animation or a decent animation. So let's jump into Oxford, see what he's all about, and hopefully get some gameplay with him. Right, let's get Oxford on the ball and see what he's all about then. Acceleration seems alright. Yeah, I know he's not necessarily meant to be a dribbler, but you've got to think that you're going to have this card in your team, and eventually you will you'd have to move with the ball at some point. Like, yes, he's not going to be dribbling past 5-6 men, but he's definitely going to be having to maybe shimmy himself out for a pass. So that is always massive when it comes to it. Nearly gets a goal there. But I think that is going to be his problem. I can already kind of tell with this sort of card that his animations are just not going to be fully correct to be able to kind of put him into that Bundesliga team, especially when you've got the likes of Klosterman, Lacroix, Upamecano. Then that's literally 3 names just straight off the bat without even having a full look. Obviously, in terms of English centre-backs, you're looking at Gomez, you're looking at, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, English. You've got Tomori, who's meant to be okay. So it's going to be an interesting one to see where he's going to kind of be fitting in anywhere, really, unless you literally have no other option in maybe your Bundesliga setup. Some good passing here. I don't know why I've pushed him forward, but he's managed to find the ball through. I'll give him that much at the very minimum. Looking for somebody on the edge. In the middle, good shot and a fantastic goal. But like I say, when you've got the likes of Lacroix, you're just not going to need this card in terms of actually starting him. And like I say, with a lot of these cards, I'm kind of looking towards, see what I mean, it's a little bit bulky, great interceptions, but I think it was a bad pass in general. But when you're looking at these sorts of cards, I'm thinking, at the very minimum, yes, they're not going to make the main team because we're already at the point where we're looking for the icons now, really. Unless there's like an informed Marquinhos, like obviously, yes, we would like him red. But again, we're not necessarily going out to spend the coins for that one. But in terms of kind of like your Eredivisie squads, in terms of your Liga NOS squads, does he fit anywhere there? That's what we're looking for when we're looking at objective cards, SBC cards. And I think for me, Oxford, unfortunately, kind of sits on the bench on both. I will have to double check the English centre-backs, as obviously there is still a few, but in terms of actual centre-backs, Gomez is the one I'm thinking of right now. The only ones I'm thinking of is Stones, Tomori, Smalling. You've obviously got Harry Maguire, which yes, no. In terms of FIFA especially, and probably real life at the minute, to be honest. Oxford with a good block there, though. We're going to try and find a little through ball. I forgot his long passes. Not quite the one on this. He's going to try and pass it through. Oxford's going to come in and step on him. Absolutely beautiful. In terms of English centre-backs as well, you've got the Aston Villa centre-back who wasn't in form. Again, nice pace, but to be honest, he probably is kind of like up there at the moment until we get any other specials. It'd probably be him and Gomez, really. You could argue Stones as well, but obviously Oxford does have that little bit extra of pace, which is always fantastic. Other than that, yeah, you're looking at Tomori, but 167k for literally 1.5k, as well as then grinding an objective. You can have an 82 centre-back and an 84 centre-back rather than Tomori's, who will more than likely drop over the next course of like a week or a couple of days. It is kind of just in that TikTok hype. Oxford nearly getting in the way. He's kind of nice with the blocks, but again, I think in terms of what he can kind of bring to the table, I feel like it's only going to be in the England team at the moment until we get somebody else like a Stones in form or something like that where he kind of raises his attributes. That's going to be the only team that is really going to feature in at this moment in time, and that's if we get an English objective within the next couple of weeks. Great standing tackle there. I will give him that one though, and you've got to give him credit where credit's due. Free card, that's the one thing that's always holding this card up, in my opinion. And I think any sort of free card is always worth doing as a just in case. Like, there is literally, unless you don't play this game a lot, there is no reason not to do it. Like, you might as well, if you don't necessarily play the game a lot. Obviously, it's a minimum of 15 games, so you are kind of putting in 15 games of foot friendlies. Oh, that is poor. That's my defending fault, to be honest. But in terms of kind of putting in that time for 15 games of live foot friendlies when you could be playing champs, rivals, obviously playoffs if you really needed to at whatever point. But it is in the game for quite some time, so maybe you could chip away at it. And I think that is pretty much acceptable. But you don't want to be bogged down under a lot of objectives when you kind of realise that they are relatively easy to do, because you do get a lot of rage quits. Another thing with Oxford as well, whilst we're kind of being attacked constantly here. Oh no, we've absolutely sold Lacroix out there. Looking for him. Good block. Very, very standard there. There's not really too much to it. But in terms of kind of Oxford as well, I think the biggest thing that really would deter me away from this card is that composure. It's just personally not good enough in a FUT champs or a playoff sort of kind of setting. Got to watch this run here. Great interception. Absolutely saw it. And I think the kind of another big thing with this card is not actually a bad... how do I say, a bad statted card. Yes, like I said, there is faults with the card, and you can find faults with absolutely anything. That is my problem with the defending. Poor defending on my part there. Let him absolutely pass round me completely open on the back, so that isn't really a kind of his fault. And I think, like I say, in terms of stats, he's not bad. Like, the stats are there. Obviously the animations are a little bit shot because he's a silver at best, and that is a shame that they can't rework something. Good interception, kind of more intercepting or blocking more than actually tackling at this point. Big ball out, that's what you want to see. Actually makes a solid ball there, just not necessarily the greatest of headers, but we are going to capitalize that. He isn't offside. Silas is going to pass it in, and Saint Just as well, actually. Me, again, not necessarily the highest rated sort of card, but once again, another card with pretty much what everybody wants. Pace, and we kind of saw him 10k for a long time at the start of the game, and again now he's probably coming in at a K. You've got another very good centre-back, or at least statted centre-back. Again, I haven't really kind of dabbled in him too much. And away, lovely stuff. Gets a lovely little pass out as well. Very impressed with his passing. I do think that is something that is quite nice on the card. Obviously, it's mainly only short, kind of nippy passes. Nothing too technical in terms of down the wing, through balling it 20 yards, 30 yards. Just a simple 1-2 pass, and it is a nice kind of completion race from him. Good interception. I must admit, the one thing that I am noticing with him, he isn't necessarily tackling a lot. He is mainly blocking, cutting out the play, just naturally being in the right place at the right time. And obviously that is down to your opponent as well. It's not necessarily majorly anything you can do. It is something that you just have in game, and sometimes they do make the right decisions for you. Good block again. Pulled him completely wide, thinking he was literally just going to do the simple 1 and 2 pass like he's done the whole game that we've just not managed to really sort. But he does manage to get that interception, which is very, very nice indeed. Kind of just as a recap in terms of what this card is all about, I think for me, animations are a little bit shot still. Obviously still got his silver animations. Would be nice to kind of have a different set, maybe even kind of like rework them to maybe a gold centre back and have almost a default gold, which doesn't make him completely boxy and really kind of stiff when moving, because the stats really don't read a card that should be that bad. Obviously he's got the agility, balance isn't necessarily terrible. We've seen worse on better centre backs. It is literally down to the animation that I think this card is as unusable in the higher rankings as it is. It really should be able to kind of keep up and do something. Obviously stat wise it's been a fantastic upgrade. It is literally animations that have almost killed the card completely off, other than maybe using him in an objective squad battles or potentially even kind of lower rated rankings in terms of rivals. Other than that, he's never going to see the light of Division 1 or maybe even Elite if you are trying to go for the Bundesliga squad there. And we will, in the overall, compare him to a couple. We'll have a look at the Bundesliga, we'll have a look at English centre-backs and really give you the scope of where does he fit in and why does he not fit in. So let's get into the overall and see what he has done. So going into the overall for Oxford then, so let's have a quick look at the objectives. If you haven't seen, like I said at the start of the video, go and check the objectives on this channel. I believe I've got a video a couple of days ago, I want to say on Friday. So let's go check the objectives then. So obviously there is the video on Friday if you want to go check them out and how to complete them fast. Obviously we'll kind of briefly touch over it, but not to the extent. And again, it isn't a massive thing. It is quite an easy objective, and I cannot find it. Milestones. So it's been added here. So you've got win at 6 matches by 2 goals or more. Again, you're just going to have to keep going with that. Some people will leave at 1, some people will will leave at 2. Some people don't even leave. So you have got the chance to get that with the grind. But the one thing that's going to fall under is you need 15 matches minimum to score a finesse goal in the separate matches, as well as then assisting across in 4 separate. You should get that done pretty easily. Assist 20 goals and score 30. So say if you did 1 goal per game for 15 games, you've still got to then get another 15 goals. But you can go and get them goals all in one go. If you go against somebody you literally just beat 30 goals nil, you're going to get the objective done in one game. It is just the separate games that will happen for that. And this is the card you get. You get a few little packs, nothing really too major, just 1 and 2 player packs kind of spread throughout. You can get sometimes lucky with it and sometimes you don't. That is just naturally how packs work. But in terms of Shadow with Oxford, obviously coming from the silver, which we will just show you right here. So this is the silver. So obviously, like I said, 14 on everything, 13 on the physical. It's a nice upgrade. You add this Shadow on him, 91 pace, 93 defending. It's very, very nice indeed. If you wanted to go for the anchor, maybe kind of go for that 91 overall, you can obviously get the 99 strength, 90 aggression. You'd end up with 92 defending, but then only 86 pace. So it depends on what you want to kind of sacrifice. For me, I think with this card being not necessarily the most animated gifted animated card, it's one way around or another, but in terms of that, I personally think a Shadow will do him the world of good. The more pace, the better, I reckon, for this card, just because you know he can kind of catch up, and he does have then a relatively good tackle on him. Other than that, I think the main things that are kind of broken with him is the composure. That for me is just not good enough going into foot champs, and I wouldn't necessarily risk it with a centre-back with only 74 unless the stats were unreal. Like passing was top tier, defending, physical, pace was all top tier. I could then be okay with it. In terms of agility balance, was actually really happy with it. I think there is the animations that are kind of overshadowing this agility and balance, because that is relatively decent for a centre-back. We've seen plenty of higher rated ones with absolutely nothing, but that's pretty much all the stats. I think he's a well-statted card, but in terms of just how he plays, he just does not play as good as he should do. In terms of defenders for England then, so obviously, like I say, you kind of get rid of the icons because they are expensive at the moment still, and really you don't know if you're going to lose coins or not until we get icon swaps 1. So obviously Gomez is going to be number 1. He is OP, very cheap, all that and above. Tomore would be another, and Oxford would be the third. I don't really see Stones making too many people's teams, even in the English teams. They're going to get an informer hopefully at some point. Maguire is just fodder, and that is it. Obviously, the English centre-back for Villa is, again, 67 pace, not the most gifted. So it is kind of between the 3, Oxford, Tomore, and obviously Gomez. I personally would opt for Oxford and Gomez because I just don't think Tomore is worth that much money and really shouldn't be that necessarily good either. In terms of kind of previous cards, as you see, we've kind of gone through a few teams with Silvers, stayed centre-back the entire time, and we have got his highest rated card since he was in FIFA, which is always nice. So hopefully we can see a gold at some point. I think for me, in terms of Bundesliga, there is far too many options. If you look at it, you've got obviously the hero, you've got Klosterman, Upamecano, Tapsoba. You've then got the Croatian centre-back here. You've also got Lacroix, Klosterman gold, to be honest, even then, a nice card at the best. So I think for me, he really doesn't fit in the Bundesliga. I think if anything, he's going to get into the England squad at this moment in time until we get any other specials. But overall for me, I'd say he's coming in at about 6 to 6.5 out of 10. Definitely worth the grind in terms of the objective, because you can get a free English 84 league player into your team. But I believe he is here for a while. I don't know if there has an expiry date on here, unless he is literally here for the whole of FIFA now. That potentially could be. It might not be, because obviously there's no timers on any of them. Or let's have a look if there's a timer on the normal objectives. So yeah, so there is a timer on them. So I reckon he is here for forever. I personally haven't checked, so I wouldn't be able to clarify that. So if you do know that, make sure you type it down below and let everybody else know that he is kind of non-expiry. But I think for me, he is a nice card. Unfortunately, just doesn't necessarily fit the bill for most of these kind of teams that I'm building. Obviously, the English one is the only one at the moment he does, but the moment we get like a special Stones of 85, 86, or we get somebody else that kind of just pops up through the ranks, then unfortunately he would be the first one to drop. But hopefully you did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure to smash that like button, and I'll see you all for the next one. Peace.